Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of He Said, He Said, He Said. A look at the world from a seasoned Black man perspective. I am Alvin King, and it is Friday, April the 23rd. It is the weekend, and I am so happy to be with all of you. I'm waiting for some more folks to come on, but we have a wonderful show for you tonight, and I want to get out in the atmosphere. A big, huge thank you to everyone who have sent in their comments about our topic that we're going to have tonight, social media etiquette, a lost art form. Some of you have sent in some real interesting comments and definitely worth sharing. And so we want to talk about that. So I'm waiting for some more folks to come in. How has all of your week been? I know if you're like me, you were very happy the earlier part of the week when the verdict was read for Derek Chauvin, and he was guilty on all counts for the killing of George Floyd. I was very happy to hear that, and it was such good news to me. At least a piece of justice was served, and so for that, I was happy. We still have a lot more work to do. Also, the House passed passed the law to make DC the 51st state of the United States. As you see, I'm representing. I'm a native Washingtonian, and I was so happy to hear that. The fight is huge. We're still not there, and I just hope that we're able in my lifetime to make that happen. Again, living in DC and paying taxes. Hey, Linnell, how you doing, sir? Welcome to the show tonight. Hey, Rose, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Our show tonight is the topic is social media etiquette, a lost art form, and we want to share with you, our opinions about that and some of our experiences too, and also some advice for you, some of you out there who are on social media. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in the guys, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Mr. Voss. How you guys doing?
Hey, good.
Hey, guys.
So happy to be here tonight. So happy.
Thank you. Everybody's coming in. Hey, Keith. Glad you had a great week. And Mia is also. Oh, Mia! Oh my God, we have someone new. Mia and Rose are here tonight. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Again, this is He Said, He Said, He Said. A look at the world from a seasoned Black man perspective. And tonight, our show is on social media etiquette, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get started, I got to ask you guys a question that I have been noticing that this gender reveal thing. I mean, call me old fashioned, but to me, it just used to be you invite people over, you say, guess what we're having? We're having a boy or a girl, and that's it. We eat cake, everybody's happy, you give cards, and you just, everybody's happy. But this week I heard about somebody who to do a gender reveal in I think it was Virginia, where they actually blew up something. They blew up something to announce their gender reveal, and it was so huge that it shook houses. And people are, they're in trouble with the police for doing that. But some of these gender reveal things is just like out of hand right now. I mean, people have actually gotten killed, making the announcement of their new arrival. I'm happy for. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think for me, it's my interpretation of it is like it is this like really extreme grasp on trying to hold gender as this political thing. You can't really tell the gender of a child until that child tells you what their gender is. Sex is very different. And even with sex and gender are not the same. So equating a gender reveal before the child is even born to tell you what it is just so out of whack. But it's a very, very strong political and religious move, I think.
Wow, Voss, I never looked at it from that perspective until you started talking. Okay.
Come on now, that's why I'm here.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really intense, and they're getting dangerous with it.
Yeah.
You know, there was a grandmother that was blown up by a gender reveal explosion. A father died by a gender reveal explosion. There was a California wildfire that was started by a gender reveal party. You would think they would get the handle and the message. Stop doing these gender reveals.
Yeah, my
Why
gender
don't we just-
reveals all consisted of bringing the
Ooh, I think we.
mic on.
Well,
I'm still
he
there.
had a gender
Yeah.
reveal. He did have one. He had a gender reveal, and Lord knows he did because he has 3 children. Is it 3? Do you have 3 kids, Jacques?
Yes, he
Yes,
does.
absolutely.
Well, let me ask you guys a
Yeah.
question about gender. Let me ask you guys a question
Yeah.
about gender.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
what does gender mean to you, and how is it different than sex?
Well, wow. Well, I'm gonna say gender to me, and that's because I'm not a one way or the other, and like this advocate, someone who advocates about gender and all of that. I think gender to me is the sex that someone is born into. You know what I'm saying? That is their gender. You know, they are born into male, female.
But gender and
Yeah.
sex are not the same.
So that
Yeah,
would be
my
considered.
understanding that gender was more of a social or a culture thing. That sex is what you are biologically. Gender is how you conform socially. So that was my understanding. Is that not? What's your position?
So much closer to what it is. Sex is supposed to be connected to your body, whereas gender is more about behavior. So, you know, when you have someone tell a male, be a man and woman are gender terms, male and female are sex terms. So we have it in our language that we tell people of a particular sex that they are or are not participating in society as a particular gender. So if we can separate those two within our language, we have to be able to separate those two in our psyche. So gender and sex are not the same. So having a gender reveal party when you don't know how that individual is going to wish to participate in society is so ahead of the curve. It's like having a graduation party for a baby. Like, really?
So some of these people are out here spending their money and doing all these crazy things, and they don't know why they're doing it. Is that what you're saying to me?
Exactly. And Yarel just sort of equated sex and gender. And again, those two things are not the same.
Come on.
And historically, we know that there are at least 6 different sexes and genders. You either all male from the beginning of your life to the end. You are female from the beginning of your life to the end. You can be both male and female. You can be neither male nor female. We have androgynous people. We have people who would consider themselves actually hermaphrodites. And when I talk about the intersex community, not every intersex person is hermaphrodite, is a hermaphrodite, but there are specific people who are born with hermaphroditism. Say that 5 times.
No, I'm not.
So you have male all through life, female all through life, neither male nor female, both male or female. You have people who are born as male, but then convert to female, either naturally or through assistance. And then you also have people who are female who convert to male, either naturally through chromosomes or through assistance, which would be people who we would consider to be transgender. So we have 6 different possible types of sex, at least. And then those also equate to gender. You can also be flexible with your gender.
See, that's why I love this show, because I promise you, when we signed on tonight, I was going to talk about something else. But you know what? I'm so glad that I came up with that, because I don't know about all of you all who are watching this, but I needed to be schooled, and Vosh just took me to class. Okay, so thank you, and it looks like we might have to do a show on that, because there's some education in that. And again, all of this came out of a boom of somebody blowing up their city because they're getting ready to have a baby. But you just educated
No, absolutely.
me. Thank you so much.
I definitely think this is worthy of a show, and we always learn from Bosch, which is why he's such an amazing co-host. So thank you for educating us, and certainly educating me, Bosch, on this issue.
Alvin, I had no idea you were going to bring this up, but like I told you, I had a conversation with a family member that has brought me to a place where I am seeing nothing but the center of what it is that we are talking about, and we are going to dig deep into all of it.
Well, that is exactly why here. Look, I want to read some of the comments because believe me, this isn't the topic of the show, but you all are coming in here. Keith Jackson said, "Vach says sex. Is that the same as sexuality?"
No.
Okay, and y'all stick around now because we have a what y'all said, and we will address some of these because I know you all are signing in and sharing your comments, and I know Vosh is here to let you know how he wants y'all to hear what he said. So stick around, stick around. Keith, let me see. Who was this? Karan? I can't pronounce the last name. Bawane? I hope I got it right. Okay. She said the power of love. Okay, okay. Well, we're going to, hey, Derwin. Hey, Tammy. Okay, well, we're going to get to you all. Please stick around because we have a what y'all said section. But tonight, we are talking about social media etiquette. And let me be clear. We are not here to tell you all what to do, how you should do it, who you should be, who you should be doing it with. Okay, we're not. Well, I don't know. You know, I might have to retract those words because some of the things that I'm going to share with you all, it may be telling y'all what y'all need to do. But we're here to talk about social media etiquette, a lost art form, ladies and gentlemen, and in the world of business and in your personal life, there is always a place to use proper etiquette. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And there's 100 social media platforms, whether if you're going to be a hoe, or if you're going to be a home wrecker, or if you're going to be the best businessman or woman in the world, there are certain levels of etiquette that you can practice. So can we just start with the first question? Or I'm sorry, the first point. We have 5 points tonight. For me, the first thing I think about when I exercise my etiquette, I always ask myself, why am I posting what I'm posting? I always ask myself that, and you should ask yourself that too, ladies and gentlemen, before you post something. You should always ask that. And to carry that over, I mean, identify your motivations for posting. That's what I mean.
I love the topic. I love the topic, and I like that you start with beginning with why we do what we do. And I also like how you use the term etiquette, because for all of us from the seasoned male perspective, we grew up where there were etiquette, there were actually guidelines in which we conducted ourselves. And what I'm finding, certainly in the 21st century and in the new millennia, there isn't really an etiquette per se, and the why is all across the board. So, like you're on LinkedIn, I mean, that has a business perspective. And when you're with, say, Facebook, it may be informational, but again, the whys are all across the board. And for me, I like to stick to the why, and I want to make it clear and precise. But some of the whys that I see, I don't think people even ask themselves that question, and that's why you've got the wide variety of postings that you see. And yeah, I think that's a great question that people should ask themselves. And Vash talked about the center. So if you're centered in your why, I think that would really be clear in terms of figuring out, is this appropriate to post? Is it not appropriate to post? Because some people have that, they don't have that center, and it's just kind of all over the place.
Well, you say appropriate. What's appropriate? Because depending on what your goal is, appropriate is a very, very wide and shifty term. If you ask, why are you posting? I mean, there are some people who are looking for gratification. And that's not something you're going to get in a healthy way from being online.
Right.
Exactly.
I think for me, through the lens of etiquette, appropriate, it would be to me what is socially acceptable. What are the general rules of conduct that I'm going to engage in much the same way if I'm interacting with someone in real life? And is my conversation, is my communication, is that socially appropriate? Is it socially acceptable? Am I following rules or guidelines that reflect generally acceptable principles of how people interact with one another? I think in the virtual space, I don't think those rules really apply, or they don't apply the way I think they should. I'll just say it like that.
Well, let me say this. We're talking about two words, and I want to focus on one word. I know we're talking about etiquette for the show, but we're also talking about social media. So let's call social media. There's a reason why they call it social media. You know, it is, and that pretty much encompasses every social media platform, no matter what it is. So when you talk about etiquette and what is supposed to be proper etiquette, it really pertains to the platform that you are on. And certain platforms call for a different type of etiquette. Again, I'm going to say what I said from the beginning of the show. You can have etiquette. It doesn't matter what you're doing. What you're doing, you can use a form of proper etiquette, because even in business, for the most crazy social media platforms. I'm sorry, I don't want to. I'm sorry. I just I felt like I just what do you call it? Judged the platform. Even I didn't mean to do that. Even with the craziest platforms, there is room for you to be to use etiquette. I'm not going to say proper, but etiquette.
Okay. You are so right in what you're saying about there being different platforms and different things that are acceptable, because LinkedIn is clearly not Twitter, because you can have a LinkedIn profile and try to be all professional, but for some reason, when people go to Twitter, you have to be angry. It's almost like, either you have to be super angry or super clever to be noticed on Twitter.
Right. Which goes into another part of this, asking, why are you posting? It's like, okay, are you looking for some type of affirmation? And I think you kind of alluded to that earlier, Vosh. If you're looking for affirmation, because, right now we live in this world where, especially as it pertains to social media, people are like so sensitive about how many likes they get, or if they post something, whether or not you're going to like it. And if you don't like it, heaven forbid, if you're their friend, and if you don't like everything that they post, they're going to get an attitude. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, well, wait a minute. First of all, I didn't even see half of it before because it's not like I sleep on social media as much as I'm on it, but people get, crazy, and they actually form their life around that. That is why they're posting. But I just think it's a point in there where they need to be honest with that and accept that. And I think that's the form of etiquette that I'm alluding to, that they need to follow. Use that form of etiquette. If you are posting something, just know your motivations behind what you're doing, because it's going to make your conversations or even your progress through that social media platform that much more interesting and that much more engaging and probably profitable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of touched on because I looked up social media etiquette. I like to do a little research. Yeah, I can. And a couple of times on a couple of different pages, what they said was things to avoid was, one, oversharing, the number of times that you post, and the appropriateness of what you're posting, which is kind of what we're saying, as we share, because, we do try to make the world a better place. But you can't overshare, and watch how many times you post and what you post.
But don't you guys think that it's about, and I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Alvin, that it really is about affirmation and not so much communication or connectivity.
Yes.
Often that I find in a lot of the posts, you're just looking for that amen corner, as opposed to really trying to, in a social media space, really trying to make true connection, true communication, or true engagement to move an agenda forward. It really is about, my amen corner. And you're right, boss. That's why I'm not on Twitter, because everybody seems angry, no matter what site you're on. It's just like, wow, yeah, that's a little too angry for me.
Christy Teigen just left Twitter for a brief moment because she was like, it doesn't resonate with me. Well, because it's an addiction. And hopefully we get to talk about that, like the addiction thing that happens with being on social media, and that immediate gratification and validation, which is covered in, what was the name of the documentary, Jacques?
The social experiment, social experiment, I think. That was,
right, where they really go
into.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They go into
Absolutely.
all of that, the algorithms, the immediate gratification, and how addictive it is. But Chrissy Teigen just tried to leave Twitter because it was too angry and didn't resonate with her. And she's back. I think it lasted 2 days.
She came back. I saw an interview with her where she said she came back to apologize to her millions of followers, that she just had to come back because she felt basically naked. She was just like, I don't know why I did that. And I guess this was her way of, this could be her therapy. You know what I mean? It could very well be her therapy. And again,
it sounds like a cry for help. When you say, I can't leave a platform because I got to come back because of you, that sounds like an addiction, which we already know about because of this documentary, and then blaming other people for not owning what's going on.
It definitely sounds like it. Definitely sounds like an addiction. And that goes back to that whole affirmation thing, that people are hooked on the affirmation. And so, in terms of etiquette, I mean, that clearly is, I think that is not an effective way to move forward. And especially if you're exhibiting all this unhealthy behavior and all of these unhealthy characteristics, that seems to be a warning sign that I need to move in another direction.
Well, and while we're here, let me be honest. I know that I have posted some things that I have regretted. And I have posted things that my friends, and thank God for them. I love you all. Thank you for looking out for me. You all will DM me or send me a text and say, now, you really didn't want to say that, did you? And these are my close friends who they can say that to me. Now, there are times when I've just left it up and say, well, that's how I was feeling. But, that it's those little moments where you don't ask yourself, why are you posting this, that can actually break you.
What was it?
What was it?
Nobody.
Oh, my God. What was you want to be? Okay, look. It was a picture.
Tell us.
It was a picture of our previous president. And it was in the form of a behind.
Okay.
And that's all I'm gonna say, because you would have to see the picture to get the actual visual.
I think I remember the picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, my friend said, you know what? I know you don't like them, but you may want to take that down.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I think I may have even liked that picture, Alvin, that you posted. I'm neither going to confirm nor deny that, but yeah. Maybe I need to take some social etiquette classes too for social media.
You didn't hear that from me. Okay.
Well, I have a question then.
Yeah.
So what about free speech? Because I know lots of people post things on social media and they claim free speech, but then years later it comes back to haunt them.
Shame on them.
There are time, place, and manner restrictions on free speech, and it's not unlimited free speech. There are parameters and there are legal guidelines. There's time, place, and manner. There is speech that is considered hate speech. There is speech that is considered, assaultive speech or combative or abusive speech. So there's still, yes, there are freedoms, but there are still limits and parameters in which we have to govern ourselves and have to, to create a safe space so that everyone gets to share ideas. But, it's not a free for all just because it's free speech, right?
Well, they don't learn that until after it's out there and their careers are no longer exist. But well, look, we go point number two on our list of etiquette. Don't go low, go high, ladies and gentlemen. And because what you say, and this leads right into what you say is a reflection of you. Now and I will say that, however, there are people who are on social media who I post so many pictures of so many things, of things that I'm doing, of where I'm going. Sometimes people have developed this opinion of me and think that I am this person. A lot of it is me, but a lot of it's not me. And they find out the hard way. And so my point with where I'm going is, if you're going to post things on social media, just be mindful that, that you don't have to go low to do it because people are listening and looking. And if you're trying to build a business, you want to be very careful about how you put yourself out there. And I don't feel like I'm putting myself out there in a place where I'm not respectful of me. I'm not compromising who I am and what I'd like to do. But there are people out there who still do that, and they are completely unaware that they are doing that. And so that's a point that people really need to take heed of when they're on social media posting anything they want.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and some of the things that I looked up, they cover business stuff. So some of the etiquette things they say is like, make sure that you're always representing your brand.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, be really cognizant of how you talk about your competition, as well as how you deal with anything that's said negatively about you or your business, because it's going to stay there forever, which is good things to remember.
And Sean just posted, he said he agrees with you. Everything you post on social media impacts your personal brand.
Yep.
And it really does. But there are people who don't care about that. And yet they say, I'm being true to who I am. So I don't care what you think. What do you say to those people who feel that way?
Well, I mean, we see that actually works. We have people use the N-word out in public just any way that they want. They get canceled by one part of the culture because of their presence on social media. But then there's another part of the culture on the other side of that bell curve that gravitates towards them, and they still get to make more money or get more notoriety. So in a world that exists to represent all of us, there are all of us represented. So how do we say to one person, you can't be who you are when there's an audience for it, and then tell someone else they can be who they are?
And my example of that is Lil Nas X.
Okay.
I was going to bring this up a few shows ago, but Lil Nas X, when he did his latest video is him, giving the devil a lap dance. And he's giving the devil a lap dance. And
apparently the universe and the balances and powers that be do not want to hear about Lil Nas giving a lap dance. We have lost album for a second, but we're going to still keep going on until he comes back.
I happen to be a Lil Nas fan, so and I think we could compare that the same with the Like a Madonna prayer, the Like a Prayer Madonna video that she did 30 something years ago. That was, I mean, it was designed to be provocative. I think Lil Nas X was doing the same thing. But I think the important thing to remember, Bosh, and you said it earlier, or you touched on this, is the fact that this social media platform, things live on forever. So we really need to be mindful about what we're creating and what we are producing out in the social media space, because that stuff lives on forever. And unless you want these things to come back and haunt you, and I see it a lot in the HR space when we're working with and when I'm doing work with millennials as they're getting jobs, and their companies who are doing the recruitment and selection process, and they're going through their social media presence, and you can't claim ignorance. You can't claim, oh my God, I was angry that day, because these things live on. So we need to be mindful that what you're creating in this space lives on, and it lives on forever. And so again, that's a really another centering reason, going back to what you and Alvin have been consistently saying, that people really need to be mindful. We really need to be mindful about understanding our why when we're creating this content and posting this content, and we need to remember that this stuff lives on after us.
But I think Lil Nas did his video to make sure that lived on forever, that in this moment in time, he is recognizing that he's taking back the power, he's taking back the decree of abomination-esqueness, and turning it around and saying, I'm gonna have a good time over here because it's warm and the sex is good.
Well,
exactly.
what the people didn't, anyway, Nas and him doing what he's doing, the video, if you read, I had to do my homework on it. the video is about a letter to himself when he was 13 years old. That's why in the name that's in the front of the song is his birth name. And he wrote a letter to himself. Basically, that video is saying, I'm not going to let anybody tell me that I can't do anything, that, hell is like here. This is where hell is. And if you think hell is not here, try being something that you're not. And that's what that video was. What that video was about, of which I thought was absolutely incredible. But I had so many people just up in arms, because he was dancing with the devil. Some of y'all dance with the devil every day. Okay.
Amen.
You dance with the devil every day. He just did it on film and showed you how to do it with some coins. Okay.
Absolutely.
So and he did it well. And so everybody was hating on that. I'm sorry. That's my little Nas X soapbox moment, and I'm done. I'm done with that. It was an excellent music piece, and I'm so glad he did it because he drove the point home. Okay. So the next thing is consider your audience, and we've been kind of talking about this. Consider the audience that you're putting yourself in front of. And I say that because everybody who you think is your friend or who has your back with what you're doing is not in your corner. And who better knows that than Ted Cruz's wife, who sent all her friends this little email about she was going to Mexico with her man, and next thing you know, it was all in the New York Post. Okay, all her little friends. She only sent a text to her friends who were in her corner, and it went all the way to New York. So you have to know your audience, even people in your circle. You have to be careful and strategize how you put yourself out there to them.
I have a question
Alvin,
for you,
can I say
Alvin.
something?
I have.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Jacques.
Go ahead, Bob. Well, so I just wanted to pick up on this point that you raised about, you use the term friend. And so often in the social media space, that's how our connections are referred to, as friends. But we know in the real world, definition of friend is very, very different than it is on Facebook. And so I think you're absolutely right, Alvin. I think you're on to something that we get to underscore more, that just because a social media friend is not a true friend, and don't get the two twisted,
But he's talking about a text string. So those are people that are really more intimate. So my question is, if you were in that circle and you saw your friend's husband, let's assume that they're women or like men, whatever, and he's an elected official and he's lying through his teeth about his position and serving the people in your community. Would you rat on him like they did, or would you keep it to yourself?
Well,
if they were my true friend, I wouldn't. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Albert.
No, you can go ahead, because go ahead, because I need to let this fester for a minute. Go ahead.
So Bosh, if they were my homies, like my road dogs, my real friends, snitches get stitches. I wouldn't say a thing.
Okay,
that's good to know.
Yeah.
If I ever have to bury a body, I'm calling you.
If I stay focused on this scenario with Ted Cruz, here's what I'm going to say about the people who she sent it to. These are the same people that come over her house, eat their food,
drink her liquor,
drink their liquor, and sit around and kiki and ha with them. And then next thing you know, but they're really angry with you because they don't like what you all are doing. But the Cruzes don't know that. I'm talking about those people. So if your question, would I do it? First of all, they ain't gonna be my friends. But that's another. They're not going to be my friends, and so I'm not going to do. I'm going to tell my friend, you really shouldn't do that. If or these are the consequences. Now, would I rat on you? I probably, if it was Ted Cruz and at that level, yeah, I guess I would. Well, first of all, they ain't gonna be my friends. I'm having a hard time with that. I'm having a hard time with that.
Well, first of all, because there's a moment of the now that's in play, which is, these were my friends. You have done something so heinous that I don't think I want to be your friend anymore. And as a matter of fact, here goes this little crumb. Okay. They're lied to everybody, and forget him, get him out of office. So there's a moment, and I appreciate you being on that safe way of the yin and the yang.
I just couldn't do it. I also want to speak to Jacques' point, and that is something huge. Some of you get on Facebook and you take that word friend literally. You don't know anything about the person that you're talking to. And yes, Facebook has made it so nice. My friend, that's your friend. That's a friend request. Don't get it twisted, ladies and gentlemen. And so many people do. I mean, when people like block them or whatever, they get mad. Like my friend, blah blah blah, blocked me. That's not your friend. Mm-hmm. I think that point to me, Jacques, is probably one of the worst points of etiquette, or you can call it denial or whatever. But it is a problem in that point that you made about people considering people their actual friends on Facebook.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really find that to be like a crazy point. So okay, so consider your audience. The next point is ban body size talk. Now, what do we mean by that? Body size. See, I knew you all were going to say Alvin. Okay, Alvin, where you coming from with that? Because all of us like to post our little pictures and stuff, how we look good. But what I'm saying is there are people out there, ladies and gentlemen, and some of y'all might not care or agree with me on this. But when you post your nice little body pictures and stuff like that, like I've been posting this week when I was 45 years old and posting this photo shoot that I found like from 20 years ago that they look fabulous.
Give me body.
People have problems with that and they get mad. And that could be especially when you don't look like that now, but you were that person. And that's where the hating comes in, because people want to say, oh, well, you don't look like that now. You don't have that body now. And so that's where the hate starts coming in at that point and that's why I call it body sizing. You know.
So it sounds to me like you need to say something to somebody specific tonight. Do you need to really go right there and tell somebody specific what they need to say?
No,
because like somebody said something.
No. I mean, well, there were a few people on IG who, again, let me go back to my first point, who saw the picture, and our first point is, why are you posting? Okay, so let me go back to that first point.
Well, why did you post it?
Why did I post it, or why did they?
Why did you post what you posted? We can get to why they said what they said, but why did you post the older picture of you?
I posted the older picture of me because it was like a throwback Thursday, and the pictures are so artistic. And I have to admit, it was an amazing photo shoot. And I wish I could put some pictures up here for you guys now, but most of you who are on here have seen them, okay? And you only seen the ones that I could share. And so, but I'm just saying, it was an amazing photo shoot. So I just did it. And actually, to be completely transparent with you guys, that photo shoot happened 10 days after a 10-year breakup. And that was my, this is my release. This is how I want to express myself. I'm going to go beyond. I never would have done a photo shoot like that. And so I found the pictures and I put them up.
I love the photo, and we did a show about this. I thought we called it "Love the Skin That You're In." So I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was a beautiful artistic expression of who you were. I thought it was a celebration of who you still are. I loved it. And so I take a different position, especially with the haters, because I'm one of those people also who posts lots of pictures, and I celebrate the skin that I'm in. And if someone has a problem with that, follow me, unfriend me, block me. But on my platform, I get to post whatever I feel. And my why is to celebrate me, because through my lived journey and my lived experience, I've had times where I was very self-conscious. I was very insecure. I wasn't loving the skin that I'm in. And now every day gets to be a celebration. And so, hey, I posted some pics today, this melanin and this New York sun. So I think you get to do that, and that's okay. And if someone that doesn't like it, don't follow it. Don't like it. Don't follow it.
So as a conversation where we talk about why we post, what's appropriate, etc., we're back to there being a spectrum of people who are willing to look at and not look at certain things, and that it is really up to the audience to determine what's appropriate and then follow what they want. Is that what I'm hearing? Because we want to make sure people know what etiquette is.
Well,
I think it's a combination, right?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a combination.
Yeah,
It's a combination.
I think it can be.
But you know what some people may deem inappropriate, you may deem appropriate. Again, and so that's why social media. And I don't want to make this conversation about me and my photographs, but it's just that, you know, I knew that when I posted those pictures, you know, that I was showing a little bit more skin than I would in other pictures. And so, but it was tasteful skin. It was art. And so I took it as that. And so,
well, you mentioned that there are other pictures, and I think that we should take a vote. If you are in the comments and you would like to see some of the more revealing pictures of Alvin, please let us know, because if we get enough votes, I will make sure that y'all see them.
And our last question.
I think that's a great idea.
And our last point is before we go to, you know, what y'all said and answer all these comments that are coming in here. The last thing that I think is important for everybody, that everybody should do, is acknowledge your mistakes. We all make mistakes on social.
Yes, we do. We make mistakes on social media. And I think that in terms of being responsible to and for one another, as well as in the, you know, the whole process of growth, it's important to be able to say when you've made a mistake, when you have been wrong in an argument. Just unfollowing and unfriending someone is not doing it. You should take responsibility for the things that you post and be willing to grow, which is, I believe, Alvin, the point that you were trying to make in terms of taking responsibility for your posts.
Yeah. I just think that is so, and actually it frees you, because you've accepted that you've made a mistake. And I mean, I often get people sometimes who will curse on one of my posts. And I don't like profanity. I don't curse on any of my posts, no matter. And so I'll go to their DM and I'll send them a note saying, hey, please don't do that. Please, I don't use profanity, and I would appreciate it that you do. I don't care about your opinion. You can say whatever you want, but you don't. If you have to curse to get your point across, that's not working for me. And so I encourage them to apologize, and they do. And it makes, I don't stop communicating with them. And these are people who I don't even know. In fact, it makes a better communication. And so I just think that you have to own that and have to know when you need to acknowledge your mistakes and apologize and move on. Yeah.
I really like this point, because it goes back to, again, one of the meanings of etiquette, which is, you know, social conduct. So and then this is a social media rule or guideline that we actually follow in the real world. In the real world, when we make mistakes, we acknowledge it, or we should acknowledge it. We should admit it, and that creates closer or greater connection or connectivity or engagement. So absolutely, I love this point, because it keeps us human, and it keeps us humane, and it keeps us civil when we're acknowledging when we've made mistakes. Let's readily acknowledge it. Let's connect, because it keeps that human element it keeps that human element at play, and it doesn't allow for the dehumanization, vilification, all the negative things. So I really love this point. I think it's a great takeaway.
So remember that when you guys are wrong, apologize to me.
Thank you. Well, you know what, guys, we're going to wrap up this segment, because we did go a little bit over, but we want to hear what the folks are saying. So it is now for our segment, What Y'all Said, and we're going to address some of the comments that have been coming in here, because I've seen some comments that I really want to speak to. And one of the first comments is from Keith Branch, who said, can we talk about the people who think it's all right that you meet on social media that can just automatically video call you and without your permission? First, I'm short and simple, for me, it's wrong. Yes. Don't do it. No, it's not good. There's a way to do that.
I don't like it when people video call me out of the blue who I know. Right. Let alone people I don't really know trying to video call me. That's just, come on, y'all.
Right.
And I think people, it goes back to that whole comment that we were talking about earlier about friend. that use of the nomenclature friend, and how I am not your friend. You may follow me or I may follow you, but unless I know you, know your birthday, know your favorite color, know where you went to school, know what your likes or dislikes are, we are social media acquaintances, but we are not friends. And I totally agree with you guys on that.
Right.
I agree with you, Keith. That is absolutely insane. And I get called,
It,
because of my Herbalife business, I have my cell phone number on one of my platforms, and people just call me out of the blue, and I'm like, is this for a consultation? And they just want to call and talk like I know them. And I'm like, unless this is about business or a consultation, I really don't, you wanting to know about my single or in a relationship, that is totally inappropriate.
right.
And yeah, we're not having that conversation.
Well, hello, Don. Hello, Tina. Some folks have come in here. I saw Keith, Tina, Sean, Michelle, Madison. How you doing? Thanks for joining us tonight. Rodney, thank you. I appreciate you appreciating me for posting my pictures. And Vosh has set me up for something that I can't hold up to. Hey, Don Henry. Thank you. I appreciate you guys for the support. Hey, Annette. Thank you for joining us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Well, you know what? We are, again, we're moving really fast. And so we need to get to our segment of the show that we call Black Excellence, ladies and gentlemen, because we got some folks that we want to talk to you about. And the subject matter, or the folks that we are acknowledging today, is in the world of politics. So let's go.
So I believe that I'm up first. So the person I'm talking about today is Hiram Rhodes Revels. Now, you spell his name Hiram. I have a lot of Jewish friends. Hiram sounds like it would be honoring both. So Hiram was born in Fayetteville, North Carolina on September 27th, 1827, which makes him a Leo. And although at that time there was widespread slavery, he was born to a free family who had both all African, European, and Native American descent. Comes out that that's going to be important later. Hiram Revels was taught by a local Black woman in his early age. And in 1838, at the age of 11, he moved to live with his brother in Lincolnton, North Carolina, where he was an apprentice barber. Now, the barber trade at that time was very, very respectable, and everybody needed to look cute. So being a barber gave him an opportunity to network with both people in the African-American slave, ex-slave community, as well as the white community. Now, in 1845, at the age of 18 years old, Mr. Revels was an ordained minister. So 18, he became a minister. And he became a minister in the African Methodist Episcopal Church, the AME Church. And he served throughout the Midwest, where he met a great deal of oppression. And in fact, in 1845, he was arrested for preaching the gospel to Negroes, which apparently was not a very good thing. He makes it very clear that he was never subjected to violence. So whatever was going on with him in his life, he was kept cool while he was arrested. During the Civil American War, now Reverend Revels was a chaplain in the Army, and he helped recruit and organize 2 Black Union regiments. He also took part in the Battle of Vicksburg in Vicksburg, Mississippi. In 1870, at the age of 43, Reverend Reynolds was elected by a vote of 83 to 15 by the Mississippi legislature to finish the term of one of the state's 2 seats in the U.S. Senate, which was left vacant after the Civil War. Reverend Reynolds arrived in D.C., but his seat was opposed for 2 days while senators debated whether or not he was eligible to hold office based on his citizenship. Because based on the Dred Scott decision in 1857 by the U.S. Supreme Court, it ruled that people of African descent and ancestry were not actually entitled to be U.S. citizens. Now, they debated about a bunch of different things, and some of the arguments ranged from whether or not he was fundamentally a citizen based on what was going on in the Civil War and the Emancipation Proclamation. And there were other arguments that said that he was a citizen just based on the sliver of European ancestry that he had. Some people even argued that because he had actually voted in Ohio, many years back that he was a citizen, because you can only vote as a citizen, and therefore they were able to grant him citizenship and put him in the Senate.
Mm.
During his time in Washington, some of his signature issues were civil rights, which included the integration of schools and equal opportunities for Black workers. Reverend Revels resigned from the Senate after a year and a half to accept a presidency at Alcorn Agricultural Mechanical College, which was located in Claiborne County, Mississippi, where he was a philosophy professor, which allowed him to directly participate in the intellectual enrichment of African Americans. Reverend Reynolds died on January 16th in 1901 while attending a meeting of the AME ministers in Aberdeen, Mississippi. He was 74 years old. So as we see more and more Native American and people of African ancestry being voted into Congress and beyond, we want to remember Reverend Hyman Reynolds. Oh, Reverend Hyman Rhodes Revels.
There you go.
Revels.
Thank you. And so, who is our next honoree, or
So
who are
our
we going
next
to select?
next honoree is one. She
Yes.
hails from California, my state, Auntie Maxine, U.S. Congresswoman, Representative Maxine Waters, who this queen is 82 years old. She was born in St. Louis, Missouri. She graduated from Cal State, LA, and she has lived in Los Angeles for most of her life, even though she was born in the Midwest. This year, she is celebrating her 30th year as a member of the U.S. Congressional delegation from California. Now, Maxine Waters has certainly been a powerful force for California and a powerful force for progressive politics. We saw her most recently distinguish herself as a champion against the former administration, and she was very active in the first impeachment proceeding against the former president of the United States. But I don't know if you'll recall, going back to the 2000s, she was an equally powerful force in Bush versus Gore. That was the first contested election in recent modern history in which there was an issue with the state of Florida and the hanging chads and all that. Anyway, the case went to the Supreme Court, and she was very, very eloquent in her defense of, at that time, Vice President Al Gore, for him wanting, encouraging the Supreme Court and encouraging the Congress to really challenge the results of that election, because, as we all remember, Vice President Gore won the popular vote, and but for the votes in Texas, would have been elected president of the United States. Congresswoman Waters has distinguished herself representing the people of the greater Los Angeles area, particularly South Central Los Angeles and South Los Angeles. She's a champion for all communities of color. She's a proud and distinguished representative of the African American community, and is still doing much to advance the cause of women, the cause of underrepresented people, and certainly the cause of all people of color. So I've had the pleasure of meeting her when she was actually a member of the California State Legislature, and she was absolutely just a powerhouse back.
We lost Jacques. I think we lost Jacques. Well, we've lost Jacques, and so he's going to come back, I'm sure. But we're going to go on to our next person that we're going to honor, and it is my choice. Atlanta, Boston, Charlotte, Chicago, New Orleans, San Francisco, St. Louis, and Washington, D.C. What does all of these cities have in common, ladies and gentlemen? They all have mayors who are African American females. And I am proud to say that. And I am proud to actually acknowledge the person, my political person. And some of you may have problems with this, but I've been living in DC all my life, and I've seen a lot of mayors come and go. But the person who I'm going to acknowledge today is Muriel Bowser. She's an American politician serving as the 8th mayor of the District of Columbia since 2015. She's a member of the Democratic Party. She previously represented Ward 4, of which I live, as a member of the Council of the District of Columbia from 2007 to 2015. She is the second female mayor of the District of Columbia after Sharon Pratt Kelly, and the first woman to be reelected to that position. So she is not a light foot at all. She was elected to the Advisory Neighborhood Commission in 2004. This is some more information about her. She was elected to the council in a special election in 2007 to succeed Adrian Fenty, who I did like as the mayor, and she who had been elected as the mayor as well. She was reelected in 2008 and 2012 and ran for mayor in the 2014 election. She defeated incumbent Mayor Vincent C. Gray in the Democratic primary and won the general election against 3 independent and 2 minor party candidates with 55% of the vote. And in 2018, she won again, a second term, with 76% of the vote. Now, Mayor Bowser has a whole bunch of accomplishments. I'm going to list 5 that are very important for me. As soon as she got into office, she went to work on rebuilding and creating a DC that everybody wants to move to. DC is one of the most expensive cities to live in the world, and that's because Mayor Bowser, since she's coming in, and some of you may look at it, well, it's expensive. It's not a negative thing, ladies and gentlemen, because my property value has gone up. And so I'm going to say that she has made this city a great city to live in. She immediately went into office and announced new investments for the LGBTQ youth experiencing homelessness, of which we had a lot of here in Washington, D.C. Her accomplishments with managing the city during the COVID pandemic was immaculate to me. Yes, there were ups and downs. Yes, there was a lot of unknowns, but she handled it, and she handled it well. And then she stood up against America, and during the killing of George Floyd, and she was the first to put the Black Lives Matter sign or Black Lives Matter mural in front of the White House to make her statement, which resonated around the world. She was the first one to do that. And now she's in another fight to make DC our 51st state. And I really do appreciate Mayor Bowser for all she's done. And I am so honored to be able to have this opportunity to say DC Mayor Muriel Bowser is the person who I've recognized tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Guys, has this not been a great show tonight?
I've had fun. It was great talking to you guys.
It has been fun. And thanks everybody for tuning in and joining us tonight. Wow, you guys are really cool. And Tina's from Charlotte, oh, I'm sorry. Are you from Charlotte? Tina? Okay, I'm sorry, Tina.
Is it Tina or Tiny? Tiny Matthews?
It's Tiny Matthews. I'm sorry.
Bitty.
I said Tina. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. It's Tiny Matthews.
I have to give props to my Aunt Debbie, who was viewing. I gave honor to her during one of our Black Excellence, and I want to make sure that that you know that she's watching. I appreciate you tuning in, Aunt Debbie.
Hey, Aunt Debbie. Hopefully I'll meet you. Hopefully I'll meet you when I come up to Philadelphia to be with Vosh. Aunt Debbie, thank you, and thanks all of you for tuning in tonight. It is really good to see all of you. And next week we're going to go we're going to go into another one of our series called the Blackout series, and the segment is called Enough is Enough. And if you all know what I mean, I'm sure a whole bunch of you can relate to what I just said. Enough is enough. So before we close out, I'm going to leave you with the words of the week. Hopefully this will resonate with you. Don't get upset with the mirror. Fix the reflection. All right? Don't get upset with the mirror. Fix the reflection. Okay, let that marinate on you guys, and we're going to close out tonight on a wonderful episode of He Said.
He said.
He said.
From his car, ladies and gentlemen, in New York City. We are signing out. Thank you again for joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a wonderful week, and try to enjoy the weather as much as you can if it gets warm in your area. Bye.
Bye.